So we're stopping by the Activision booth here at Gamescom to find out a little bit more about a game that we haven't heard much about, seen much about yet, and it's being shown here. What are you showing of The Walking Dead here behind closed doors?
Well, we're really early into the dev cycle. We only announced the game about 7 weeks ago. So behind closed doors, we're kind of doing a little presentation of behind the scenes of what it's taking to make the game and going into the fundamental principles of what The Walking Dead game is and how it relates into the universe that AMC's created.
I think everyone has played a lot of zombie games these days.
Yes.
So what kind of what does the sort of the license afford you, and how does that sort of twist around the zombie genre as such?
Well, it's actually really, really unique because, you know, generally our walkers, and if you've seen the show, their whole intent is to just see you and eat you. And that doesn't really make for compelling AI if you think about it, because you're used to the guy hiding behind the table and taking a shot. And so we had to make these guys, we had to do something with them. And we've got a really awesome AI team and a really good AI programmer. And he made these guys really environmentally aware. So, you know, it's like as you're going through the environment, if you like knock over some cans or something, you know, the walkers themselves may not identify that as food, but at the same time, they may say, hey, there might be a potential food source over there. And if you apply that to a bigger scale, if you're in a really dire situation, you pull out your gun and start shooting, you're going to let all the walkers in the area know that you're there, and they can start kind of circling in, and it can create a lot of problems for you. Not to mention, we're addressing all the other senses as well. I had a case in which I was like cruising through the Georgia streets on the small level we have that we're showing in there. And, you know, it's like a walker sees me, so I dive back into the pharmacy and I'm hiding behind a pill stand because they're kind of, you know, they're easy to kind of trick. But at the same time, if you've seen like episode 1 of season 2, you know, the walker that comes into the trailer, he starts sniffing around and pretty soon he was on top of me and I'm like hiding there and he just kind of like, oh, there's someone over here, and I'm like, great, and now I had to deal with them, and it's really exciting. So every like walker encounter, you have to look at what you're doing and kind of approach them different ways based on how many they're there and how aware of them or how aware of you they are.
And I think something that is about The Walking Dead is it's, as much as it is about the zombies, it's about the people surviving this horrible ordeal. How do you sort of address that in this game?
Well, we're taking our cues from the show. We've been working with AMC on the storyline. It essentially follows, you play Daryl Dixon, which, you know, and the story itself happens right after, pretty much before the show begins, and during that transition time where people are still panicking, and of course panic leads to death. There's that hope that the military might come riding in to save the day, you know, and, you know, Daryl's a really good choice. He's a fan favorite. You know, if you've seen season 2, he changes a lot during season 2. So we're able to put those seeds of change kind of early into the story to kind of help affect it. Of course, his brother Meryl's going to be there, which, you know, they're both kind of interesting and kind of unsavory characters, but we're going to have a lot of fun with that. And then you're going to encounter other survivors on the way. Story is really, really important in Walking Dead, and we've tried to mirror that with our story and with our game as well. So you'll encounter other people that are like, you know, they may offer you advice, or you can pick them up and they may offer you help if you can get them to a certain location or get them to the military safe zone or whatever. So it's kind of an interesting thing, and there's a lot going on there, but I really don't want to spoil the story at all for anybody.
But so you're creating some new characters, and I'm guessing that we'll get to see some of the characters that we know from the series elsewhere as well. But is there any of the characters that's going to be instrumental that you could talk about that's new?
Meryl and Daryl. That's all I can talk. We've confirmed them for our game, and that's all I can talk about.
All right. So. Obviously, it's a first-person game, but it's how would you say that is sort of is it a first-person shooter, or would you call it something else?
We're calling it a first-person survival game, and it's a really kind of open approach to everything. Like you come into this, the second mission of the game, you're looking for gas, and you start the level, and the image I was showing in the presentation, you can see the pharmacy and general store on your left. You can see some smoke trailing out, which somebody might be trying to light a signal fire to get your attention without alerting all the walkers on the street. There's some buzzards circling overhead, which could lead to something, and then there's the big gasoline sign at the end of the road. And it's up to the player how they get to the gasoline sign. They can take several different paths to get there, and it's kind of open to the player to try to figure it out on their own. So it's kind of this, kind of open world, open design, I guess is a good analogy for it. But it's, but it's all about survival and, getting those elements, finding the medicine in the store or in the pharmacy that'll help you out later if you're in, finding the gas to fuel your car so you can drive further, stuff like that. And we've got a whole travel system that kind of works into all that as well.
And of course, the South, I think, is like a really big part of it as well. Just the role, the environment, this place of the world. It's maybe not always sort of the center of an apocalypse. Usually it's like New York or Los Angeles or London or something like that. How important do you feel that sort of Georgia and the South is for this game?
It's really important. It's iconic to the show, and that's first and foremost. But it's kind of some different areas. It's kind of that rural setting. The small town feel. More rural settings like streets and roads. Campsites. And you get to see kind of how. It's like it's kind of smaller in the scope of you've got the people that are just trying to survive, and it's like if you've seen the second or first episode of season 2, all the cars piled up on the highway. It's like, what is that story there? What happened? And it's like that's the kind of stuff you're going to be encountering during the game itself. Does that make sense?
Sort of. But when we will get to experience the game itself?
You'll be able to experience it in 2013, and can't say much more than that.
Right. All platforms?
360, PS3, and PC.
Right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. It's been a good pleasure.